Today, we're going to go back to East Los Angeles in the 1960s. A bunch of Hispanic bikers found themselves being repeatedly denied membership into the existing motorcycle clubs. But one guy decided if they wouldn't let his people in, he'd create something entirely new. And that something would become one of the most influential motorcycle clubs in American history. Let me introduce you to Al Aceves, also known as Big Al. This guy was the visionary who transformed rejection into revolution by starting up the Mongols Motorcycle Club. Now, this isn't just another story about motorcycles and leather vests. This one is about pride, identity, and how one guy's defiance helped create a brotherhood that would spread from the barrios of East LA to chapters all across the globe. From its humble beginnings in Montebello, California, all the way to creating an organization that would permanently alter the landscape of motorcycle culture. Big Al's story is one of determination, cultural pride, and the power of sticking together. Back in the 1960s, the motorcycle scene was as segregated as the rest of America, which means most of the motorcycle clubs at the time, like the Hells Angels, the Outlaws, the Banditos, these guys were mostly white organizations. And unfortunately, the Hispanic riders found themselves being constantly turned away. But now what about Big Al? He saw something different. He saw an opportunity. He saw a chance to not just create a motorcycle club. He saw a chance to create a movement, a brotherhood that would command respect and celebrate their heritage rather than try to hide from it. Under his leadership, the Mongols would grow from a small group of outcasts in East LA to an international organization with chapters spanning around the globe. They would become known for their distinctive patch, which was a Mongolian warrior wearing sunglasses while riding a motorcycle. Now, this patch wasn't just a logo, it was a statement, a declaration that Hispanic bikers weren't going to live in anybody's shadow anymore. So how did a group of outcasts become one of the most recognized motorcycle clubs in the world? And what kind of legacy did Big Al leave behind? We'll put on your colors and fire up your engines. We're going to take a ride through the story of the man who changed the face of motorcycle culture forever. Warning: the following video is meant for educational purposes only and should not be taken otherwise. Apex Crime Lords does not condone, encourage, or glorify the actions of the individuals covered in this program. Viewer discretion is advised. So our story begins in the working-class neighborhoods of East Los Angeles in the 1960s. Mexican Americans are facing widespread discrimination, and that means that the biker scene was no different. Existing motorcycle clubs at the time kind of had an unwritten rule that excluded Hispanic bikers. This is the world that shaped Big Al. We do know that he was a natural leader who commanded respect through his presence and intelligence, rather than intimidation. The 1960s were a time of profound change in the Mexican-American community. The Chicano movement was gaining a lot of momentum. You had people out there like Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta fighting for civil rights and recognition. The spirit of cultural pride and resistance to discrimination would be a big influence on Big Al's vision for the Mongols. Big Al grew up in East LA and developed a passion for motorcycles early on. The freedom of the open road just called to him, just like it did for thousands of other young men in post-war America. But everywhere these guys went, all they found were closed doors and prejudice. The established motorcycles club at the time weren't exactly subtle about their discrimination. Hispanic riders were often told that the clubs were full or they weren't accepting new members, and that was putting it nicely. Sometimes they were just flatly told that Mexicans weren't welcome. But Big Al wasn't the type of guy to accept that kind of rejection just laying down. If the existing clubs wouldn't let his people in, he'd create something new, something that would make those same clubs wish they had been a little more open-minded. America saw a lot of social change in the 1960s, especially in Los Angeles. The Chicano movement was gaining momentum, and the streets were alive with a new sense of cultural pride and identity. This was the backdrop and the fuel which Big Al would use to make his mark on history. In 1969, after facing one too many rejections, Big Al got a bunch of Hispanic bikers to meet at his home in Montebello, California. This first meeting, the one that would change motorcycle club history forever, took place in his garage. Big Al had a vision. They would create a club that would embrace Hispanic culture and pride while demanding respect in the already established biker world. He chose the name Mongols for a reason. He was inspired by the fierce warriors of Genghis Khan, who built one of history's largest empires. So the name just didn't come out of nowhere. The Mongols of history were considered outsiders who built an empire that commanded respect and fear in equal measure. These guys were warriors who never backed down and never apologized for who they were. For a group of Hispanic bikers facing discrimination in the 1960s, that symbolism was perfect. And the club patch design was just as deliberate. A Mongolian warrior riding a motorcycle and wearing sunglasses. That wasn't just a logo, it was a statement. The sunglasses were added to give the warrior kind of an American style, and creating the perfect blend of cultural pride and modern identity. With Big Al as the leader, the Mongols quickly established themselves in East LA. The first clubhouse was located in Montebello, and they quickly got a reputation for being fiercely loyal to each other and their community. Those early days were not easy. Other clubs didn't take kindly to newcomers, so naturally you had some confrontations, territory disputes, and a whole lot of tension. But Big Al's leadership style helped the club navigate these challenging times. Unlike a lot of leaders who ruled through fear and violence, Big Al was known for his strategic thinking and diplomatic skills. This guy understood that building a lasting organization was going to take a lot more than just muscle. You got to have structure, rules, and a clear identity. Leadership isn't just about making decisions, it's about making the right decisions at the right time. And Big Al had a natural talent for knowing exactly what the Mongols needed at each stage of their development. When other clubs were focusing on intimidation and violence, Big Al was thinking about structure and sustainability. He understood that to build something that would last, you needed way more than just tough guys on bikes. You needed organization, discipline, and a sense of purpose. Big Al established a strict code of conduct for the Mongols. Membership wasn't just about riding motorcycles. It was more than that. It was about brotherhood, loyalty, and pride in their Hispanic heritage. The club grew really quickly under Big Al's guidance, and within just 10 years, they had chapters all over Southern California. We're talking Los Angeles, San Gabriel Valley, San Fernando Valley, Long Beach, San Diego, and Bakersfield. He insisted on maintaining high standards for membership, and he made sure that each new chapter upheld the original values and principles that he had established. What set the Mongols apart was their strong connection to their Hispanic roots. While other clubs of the era tried to distance themselves from their ethnic backgrounds, Big Al made cultural pride a cornerstone of the Mongols' identity. These guys would organize regular events that celebrated Hispanic culture, from Mexican Independence Day rides to community gatherings that brought together families and club members. These events helped cement the Mongols' place in the community and attracted new members who appreciated the club's cultural pride. Big Al's leadership style was pretty unheard of for its time. He emphasized education and understanding of club history and protocol. New members weren't just given a patch, they had to earn it through dedication to the club and its principles. Under his guidance, the Mongols developed a sophisticated organizational structure. Each chapter had its own leadership, but they all reported back to the mother chapter in Montebello. This structure allowed for growth while maintaining control and consistency. The club's expansion wasn't just about numbers. It was about establishing a presence that could no longer be ignored. The Mongols became known for their unity and discipline. If one Mongol showed up somewhere, they all showed up. The impact of Big Al's creation would extend far beyond what he might have imagined in that Montebello garage. The Mongols became one of the fastest growing motorcycle clubs in history, eventually expanding internationally. But more importantly, they opened the doors for Hispanic riders in the motorcycle world. The other clubs that had previously excluded Hispanic members started to change their ways, partly due to the Mongols' growing influence. The Mongols' success even inspired other minority groups to start their own clubs. Big Al had shown everyone that you don't have to accept being excluded. You can build your own institutions and command respect on your own terms. The club's influence on motorcycle culture cannot be overstated. The Mongols' unique style, where they mixed traditional biker culture with Hispanic pride, created a new template for cultural expression in the motorcycle world. Big Al's legacy lives on in the club's continued emphasis on Hispanic pride and brotherhood. To this day, the Mongols remain one of the most recognized motorcycle clubs globally, with chapters across multiple continents. His leadership style, which emphasized organization, cultural pride, and strategic thinking over brute force, helped create an organization that would outlast many of its contemporaries. Big Al's story is more than just a tale of how a motorcycle club got started. This is a story about standing up to discrimination. It's about creating something new when the existing system won't let you in. And it's about the power of cultural pride. Al showed us that sometimes the best response to rejection is to build something of your own, and then make that something even bigger and better than whatever it was that excluded you in the first place. The Mongols Motorcycle Club stands as a testament to Big Al's vision of unity, brotherhood, and cultural pride. Yes, of course, the club's history has had its share of controversy, but its importance in breaking down barriers for Hispanic riders is undeniable. In a lot of ways, Big Al was ahead of his time. This guy understood that true power doesn't come from strength alone, but from organization, identity, and unity. He didn't just create a club. He created a brotherhood that would span generations. His story shows us that sometimes the most powerful response to discrimination isn't to fight your way into existing institutions, but instead to build your own. Create something so successful that those who once excluded you can't ignore you anymore. The Mongol story is, in a way, a truly American tale. It's a story of outsiders who refuse to accept being treated like second-class citizens, and instead, they built something of their own, something that would command respect on their own terms. Today, the sight of a Mongol patch still carries the same message Big Al intended: pride, strength, and an unshakable brotherhood. Next time on Apex Crime Lords, we're going to take a look into the disturbing case of Brian Kohberger. From criminology PhD student to accused perpetrator, we're going to examine how this aspiring criminal justice expert allegedly became the very thing he was studying. I mean, what drives a guy who dedicated his life to understanding criminal behavior to allegedly commit one of the most shocking crimes of 2022? Join us as we take a look at this chilling case, where academic obsession may have crossed the line into deadly reality. Now, as we look back on Big Al's story, it raises some fascinating questions about leadership, culture, and resistance to discrimination. Let's think about it like this. How was Big Al's approach to organizing the Mongols any different from the traditional motorcycle clubs of the time? What do you think this tells us about effective leadership in the face of adversity? The Mongols chose to celebrate their Hispanic heritage rather than try to blend into existing club culture. How do you think this decision influenced their success and the impact they had on the motorcycle culture as a whole? And now, what about the timing? Do you think Big Al's approach would have worked in a different era? Or do you think this guy was just in the right place at the right time and was perfectly suited for the social changes of the 1960s? The Mongols showed that sometimes the best response to exclusion is to build your own clubhouse. Now, how do you think this strategy compares to fighting for inclusion in existing organizations? Big Al's emphasis on organization and structure over brute force was unusual for his time. And what do you think this tells us about the relationship between intelligence and power when building a lasting institution? And how do you think the legacy of Big Al's leadership style has influenced modern motorcycle club culture? Do you see any of the elements of his approach in the clubs we have today? Think about the choices Big Al made when establishing the Mongols' identity. Everything from the name, to the patch design, to the club's rules. How do you think these choices reflected both his understanding of power and his vision for the future? These are just conversation starters for a deeper discussion about leadership, cultural identity, and the power of organized resistance against discrimination. What parts of Big Al's story do you think are the most important? And how will Big Al Aceves be remembered? That's up for you to decide. Leave your thoughts in the comments section below. And please like, subscribe, and give us a share. Until next time, stay safe and stay dangerous.